Hello, everybody. I've been listening and reading and listening and reading and thinking. Did you see Donald Trump reply to the Ted Cruz organization of his wife's picture? The truth is, it shows his total mental ability. How would I reply to that picture? First, I would have pointed out that it's the cover of GQ, one of the most respected magazines during its publishing time that was on the market. It was highly respected by many important, rich, learned, and experienced people. So she was on the cover of John Kennedy's son's magazine, GQ. Also, the picture exposed nothing that was indecent. She may have been wearing a tan swimsuit. We'd never know. But such a beautiful woman she is that many men would have wished that that lady was their wife. And many people, men and women, would be very proud of such a lovely individual to represent the White House as the First Lady. That's what my reply would have been. Use what they do against you against them. Instead, what does he do? He loses his temper. He starts tweeting all over the place, telling everybody how rotten Ted Cruz is, instead of saying, I'm glad Ted Cruz appreciates a beautiful woman, as my wife is. That would have shut them all up. Instead, he attacks. He attacks. He always attacked. If you watched his shows, he always attacked. You watch his projects he always attacks. He uses his money to force anything and everything. He is a leader of, I am the boss, so whether you like it or not, this is the way it's going to be. He's not a leader. He's a bulldozer. Okay. How about Ted Cruz? Well, all I could say is Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders are both senators from the Senate of the United States of America. They're from our Congress. They get paid for being senators. Now, senators are supposed to represent the state that they were elected from. They're supposed to be on the floor to discuss the needs, the desires, and the wants of their state. Are they? Heck, they're all around the country campaigning. Neither one of them resigned from their seat. So that made the state of Texas and the state of Vermont at a handicap when Congress discusses the Senate, any bill, any law, anything that's being discussed. Because guess who's not there? Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders. Guess who's getting paid to be there? Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders. Guess who's negligent to their job? Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders. And guess who could not keep their word to the people of the state of Vermont or the state of Texas? Oh, again, Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders. And what's their answer? Well, in Congress we've done this for years. Oh, the old, Well, that's the way we've been doing it, so that must be okay. No, it's not okay. It's time to draw a line and say any candidate running for president of the United States cannot be holding an elected seat of any government, whether it is federal, state, city, county, or the local dog catcher. If they're elected, they must resign, and they must allow the proper authorities to appoint a replacement. That's the way it should be. They shouldn't be getting a free ride in Congress or the Senate part of Congress. The congressmen who are running, they shouldn't have been getting a free ride. All those who hold a seat must resign that seat prior to running for president. Yep. Because by holding it, they are lying to the people that voted for them. By holding it, they're getting paid, so therefore they're stealing money from the people through their taxes by not being on the floor representing them. They may be voting on every bill that goes, but they do not stand on the floor representing the people they said they would. That's all I got to say about those two. They're not worth voting for. They're liars and they're crooks. In my opinion, the worst of all. They're worse than a bank robber. Because a bank robber admits he's a crook. Where these two, gosh, liars and thieves. In my opinion, that's all they are. Of course, that's my opinion. Now, Hillary Clinton. Let's see what Hillary Clinton's been involved in. The invasion of Iraq by the second Bush. Yep, she voted for it. In Libya, the overthrow and the slaughter of Americans to reach their end goal. When Egypt was in the process of finally figuring out how it wishes to go and which government it wishes to set up, she was in there trying to destroy that. And she's also a strong believer in regime change on a government that they do not like, which is not their responsibility, but the responsibility of the people in Syria. How many men, women, and children died because of Hillary Clinton's warish attitude towards anything that she does not agree with? I feel personally she should be standing before the world court for the slaughter of all those people. I feel personally she should be standing before the world court for all the people that are leaving Syria. They're not fighting on either side. They just want a safe home. But thanks to people like Hillary Clinton, there is no safe home in Syria any longer. Also, thanks to people like Hillary Clinton, ISIS exists. Because after she committed the atrocity of invading Iraq, tearing up a stable government, though we did not agree with their government, to a man that the United States government had actually placed in power, Saddam Hussein, she helped pull the troops out too early. And now they're going back, step by step. Because children must learn to walk. Then they must learn to run. Then they must learn to ride a bike. Then they must learn to drive a car. Then they must learn. There must be someone there to help and teach them. Same thing goes with nations. Iraq is a young nation, though it is thousands of years older than the United States. It is dealing with new ideas. It is dealing with new expectations. It is trying an experiment it has never tried. But people like Hillary Clinton dumped them to the wind. Unfortunately, when you invade a country, you accept the responsibility of that country. Hillary Clinton, do you hear me? You accept the responsibility of that nation. Oh, wait a minute. That's what leadership is. When you do an action, you accept the responsibility of that action. Ooh, that's a leadership clause. Interesting what I just said, isn't it? She doesn't accept the responsibility of Iraq. That's not her problem. She just disrupted, tore up, and totally destroyed a government to get her end ways the way she feels it should be. She is doing the exact same thing now in Syria. Right now, the United States government's efforts should be completely aimed at ISIL and nothing else. It should not be supporting those who wish to overthrow the president of Syria should not be involved in that. That is not the United States. That is not our job. That is not our responsibility. That is the people of Syria. And most of them are leaving the country because they don't like what's going on. They are trying to find a stable home for their families, for their children. Because people like Hillary Clinton and Obama are drawing lines in the sand and creating more problems throughout the world than they're fixing. About 2 years ago, I did a video on Cuba. Why? Why are we treating Cuba the way we are? It's time to bury the hatchet. It's time to accept them for who they are. And guess what? He's now gone to Cuba. He's listening to me. I could tell you positively, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know Obama listens to each and every video I ever do. I know that for a fact. I make videos on his errors and he corrects them. Obama's biggest problem was he put his foot in his mouth too soon all the time. When he started using aircraft into Syria, which I totally disagreed with, he should never have said no boots on the ground. His words should have been, I will use the least amount of military force that is necessary to get the job done. Because now you see, we're going to have 8 to 10, 15, maybe even 30,000 American troops in Iraq. And hopefully they join up with the Iranians and the Syrians and we destroy ISIL. But if that does not happen, I promise you all, I will handle ISIL. But understand, I do not play games. I'm only out to win, and I love to cheat. That phrase must be buried deep and remembered by all of you. Because the world's going to call me a great cheater when I handle ISIL. We as a nation must understand terrorism and what terrorism is. And by understanding what terrorism is, we can then handle terrorism. For understanding terrorism is nothing more than violence, death, and attacks. That's all they understand. To destroy and attack. To destroy and attack. And the only way to stop terrorism is that have them fear you more than they fear death itself. But then they won't attack you. You're not going to beat them on the internet. There's no way anyone could beat anybody on the internet. Not even a single individual in a house with a computer. If they know what they're doing. Social media is out there all over the place. So we talked a little bit. Now, what is my real foreign affairs? My foreign affairs should use this approach when dealing with all nations throughout the world. Whether we agree with the nation or not, we must understand that each nation has a right to exist, and that only the people within that nation has a right to decide how they shall be governed. If they wish to be under a total dictatorship, a most territorial, most total, that's their choice. If they wish to be under a royalty of a family like Saudi Arabia, that's their choice. If they wish to be under a military control, that's their choice. If they wish to be under democracy, that's their choice. But they must make the choice, and they must support what they believe in. Not the United States government deciding we shall. We have taken very stable governments and destroyed many of them because we interfere with what the people of those nations want and understand. They don't think exactly the same as we do, and we must accept that they are different and celebrate they are different and accept them for who they are and let they decide. Now that's the approach we must use in the United States when dealing with any and all nations of the world. That's why I said I don't understand why so long we treated Cuba the way it is. We must accept Cuba. Why do we blockade? Why do we put sanctions against a country? Because we disagree with what the people chose. The Cuban Revolution was by the people. And that's what they chose. Let them have it. Because I'm going to give you a big surprise. Socialism or communism is a stepping stone from dictatorship to a democracy. Because most nations, most people in a dictatorship do not yet have the understanding. But in socialism or communism, they must be educated. And once they become educated, they start asking questions. When they start asking questions, they're ready for their government that they choose. And we must understand that also. How much longer is China going to be communism before it becomes a total democracy? I give it 50 years at the most. So, people, there's my view on foreign affairs. Taxation? Oh, God, is it a mess. Our taxation program within the United States is so messed up and so screwed up that it cannot even support the flamboyant government that we have. It's too one-sided. It's leaning too much on the people and not enough on the economics of the nation. It's time we change our taxation system from leaning on the people and their ability to work to the economic status of the nation and the ability of the people to spend. For there is the greatest strength within a nation, the ability of the people to spend. That means manufacturing, first leg, creating wealth. We take raw materials, making the finished products, we create a wealth that was not there. We sell and pay everybody involved. That is the distribution or distributing the wealth. And then the consumption, the ability of the people to spend. By that being strong, we know we have an economy that can support our government. And there is where taxation should lie. The economic development of the nation, the ability of the citizen to consume. In other words, a sales tax, vice, and income tax. Interesting. There's more involved in that. Everything within this nation should be taxed, not just this or that. And everybody pays taxes, no matter who they are. And then once a quarter or once a third of the year, they get a refund check. And the beauty of that is everybody's entitled to the refund check. And those who are legal aliens have to tell us where they are to get their refund check. And when they get their refund check, we could give it to them personally. Take it to the bank, cash it, take it to the airport, and with their own money, put them on a plane. Either that, or they don't claim their refund check and they pay more in sales tax than you and I, a legal citizen. But everybody pays the sales tax. Everybody supports the government. Everybody pays for Medicare. Everybody pays for all the programs, social programs. Everybody. And it is always proportional. Because like you and I, when we go buy a car, we're looking at 30, 40,000. People like Trump, Hillary Clinton, and Bernie Sanders, they go buy a car, they're looking at $100 to $200 million. Their taxes on those cars will be a lot more than my 30,000. So the sales tax is not only fair, it's proportional. The richer you are, the more you spend, the more you pay. And everyone gets an equitable share of the refund. So for people like Warren Buffett, Donald Trump, it might be part of a lunch. But for you and me, that $1,200 or $1,400 will mean a lot. That's the taxation system. There's much more too. But I got to keep my first three promises to you. One, to bring your voice to Washington, D.C. You hear that from everybody, all politicians, and I'm no politician. So what makes me different? I want you to tell me what's bothering you so you can take what's inside you and place it inside me. Then I can bring it to Washington, D.C. I must ensure that Congress realizes they are there to serve you, the American people, not a political party, not a special interest group, none of those things. You, the American people. They are to represent their areas as they were elected for. Not to go around the country campaigning for president when they promise to represent a state like Texas or a state like Vermont. No, they are to represent you, the people, and they are to understand that you, the people, are the masters of our government, not the slaves of this government. And then third and most important promise is to bring leadership to Washington, D.C. I will bring leadership, and I will accept full responsibility of everything and anything. That's why all my videos from June of 2008 is still on YouTube, so that you can look at it and say, you said this. You are responsible for your word. And I will accept that. So with this all said, a little reason, this is the reason why I'm better qualified of many things, besides these items I've mentioned, to be President of the United States, far beyond the abilities of Trump, Sanders, Cruz, or Hillary Clinton. I could not do to you what all four of them have been doing for the past several months. Sorry, but that's me. Think about that. And when you get a chance, check out The Constitutionist. CONSTITUTIONIST. The Constitutionist Party. www.theconstitutionistparty.com. There is a written copy, which I have to update, of my platform. You have a nice day. Remember what I say. Ask not what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country. But remember that we are the masters of our government, not the servants of our government. And Congress shall only serve us, the people. No other entities, no political parties, no organizations, but you, the people. And with that said, you must understand, only you and I can fix this country, but we can only do it together. Thank you for your time. This is JD. Have a nice day.